Well, thank you to all the youth for sharing and telling that important story for us, and for the leaders who worked so hard to make that happen. Since we just heard this gospel story of Jesus' birth, I thought tonight we would hear the words from the prophet Isaiah that point to this coming reign of God. And so, a reading from Isaiah chapter 9. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as people exult when dividing plunder. For the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, you have broken, as on the day of Midian. For all the boots of the trampling warriors and all the garments rolled in blood shall be burned as fuel for the fire. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time onward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. The word of the Lord. So I have a bit of an in with the screen guy up there, so I want to show you a picture of my family. How about that? This is a picture from a few days ago. We were out for an appointment that day, and so we decided to grab some drive-through dinner and check out some Christmas lights on our way home. If we're connected on Facebook, you may have seen this picture along with some others as we shared it there. And when we shared it, a lot of people commented on this picture and the others. They said how happy and joyful we looked, how it looked like the perfect evening for us. What that photo does not tell you and show you are the meltdowns, the temper tantrums, the angry snapping at one another, the thrown food in the car just before this photo was taken. And that was just me. I mean, the kids were fine. We all have our moments. It wasn't that bad, but you know that if something like that did happen just before a photo, you wouldn't know from that photo. Because these pictures, these moments in times, they can never capture everything that's going on. It's not really news to anyone how we all have at least two, different personas at any time. The one that people catch glimpses of, the one we try to present, whether in person or online. And then we have that other one, the one that's actually you. The one that includes all of the messiness, the effort and the hard work, the temper tantrums and the throwing of the food, the pain, the grief, the brokenness. Those are things about us that we don't want to share with the world. I mean, we're not going to post a picture of those things on our Christmas card and mail that out. But this time of year, we think, or more so we're told, that we need to put all of those messy feelings that we have into hiding. Or at least cover them up with some decorations and some lights so that we can be part of the joy of the season and the festivities, and darn it, enjoy the happiness. Can we set aside the facade somehow? The words of the prophet Isaiah that we heard just a little bit ago, these words are addressed to the people, as we heard, who walked in darkness. There's this idea that the darkness referred to here points to big concepts like evil and sin, suffering, distress, death. But I think we are able to recognize the darkness in the world around us. A world that's full of war and violence, division and dehumanization, terrorism, greed, the abuse of power. But even more than that, we know that there is darkness in ourselves. Those times of quarrels and broken relationships, disease and death, fear, guilt, loneliness, grief. I think every one of us knows what it means to walk in darkness. But Isaiah, as we just heard, has good news for his listeners. He has good news for us. He says, the people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. So this passage in Isaiah is pointing to a coming king, a king who's in the line of David, who will bring about endless peace in the world. He goes on to say, the yoke of their burden, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressors, all those things will be broken. The clothes of our enemies will be burned. There will be justice and righteousness forever. We will have a king who will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. Those people under Isaiah watched kings rise and fall with a hope that this prophecy would be fulfilled. And now we hear this prophecy every Christmas from Isaiah because we see this great light given to those walking in darkness as the birth of Jesus, the arrival of God into our world. But as thankful as we are for this birth that we're here to celebrate, we know that all those things are still yet to be fulfilled. Our world is not yet filled with endless peace. There still will be more to come. But we are people of hope. But we should notice also that when Isaiah says that the light shines in the darkness and the darkness cannot overcome it, he never says that the darkness will disappear completely, that it will be gone. There will always be darkness and brokenness and pain and sin and death until that great day of Jesus' final arrival. But despite that, we can still point to our hope in the light of Christ. Light born into this world, light that can overcome darkness, light that can show us the way of peace, light that holds us and walks with us in our grief and our pain. Christmas is a promise that God is with us. I was thinking about Christmas trees that we use during this season. They've always been traditionally evergreen trees because, they stay green year-round. If we tried to use a maple tree as a Christmas tree and brought that in at this time of year, it'd be a bunch of sticks, right? So we want this tree, we want this moment to be a symbol of everlasting life and light in these dark winter days. But despite them being evergreen, once we cut them down and bring them inside, we know they will only last so long. No matter how much you water it, no matter how many decorations are covering it, the tree will eventually dry up and the needles will fall off. Hopefully long after you've gotten it out of your house, but you work on your time. There is some finality with these trees. But I've witnessed a church community make symbolism out of that life cycle of a tree. Once the Christmas season is over, they'll chop up the tree and simply display a collection of sticks and branches. Because as we're in that heart of winter, we know that something will come from those bare sticks. Then when it comes time for Lent, they take those branches and they fashion them into a cross for the 40 days. And then when they reach Easter, that wooden plain cross is suddenly covered with palm leaves and flowers. A reminder that even in those dead and bare branches, God can bring new life. It's a reminder to us now that the things that we are hiding behind the greenery and the decorations as we try to put up a front during the season of joy, God still knows those things are there in us. But God can still bring resurrection from brokenness and pain. But let's not get the cart before the horse. Before we can have resurrection, we need to have birth and life. Tonight we celebrate that Jesus was born into a messy world through a messy story to a no-name young girl and witnessed by a bunch of outcast shepherds, so that we can know that God that God is present in the midst of our messy stories and in the midst of our hurting world. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. May that light of God's love shine in your life, both now and always. Merry Christmas. Amen.